Hello and welcome to SimpleSoftware 108, Output Options, getting the format, folder, and file name that you want. In this course, we're basically going to cover all the different options for outputting single and multi-page files, what file types are output, and get more into the details about how to create folder and file name structures in SimpleIndex. So for this job, we're going to use the Zone OCR invoice example as a starting point. And the first thing I want to show you in the sample jobs, the input and output folder, you'll notice have the word default config substituted in there. And when we ran the setup wizard, when you first run SimpleIndex, that default config folder is the folder that you set there. And you can substitute that folder in anywhere in any path definition in SimpleIndex. And by doing that, if you move all your images to another server or something like that, all you have to do is update the global configuration and all of your job configs will still work. And that's also how we get the demo jobs to work no matter where you define your image folder. One thing that you can do with the input and output folders that has not been demonstrated yet is you can actually leave them blank, one or the other or both of them. And if the folder is blank, it will actually prompt you when you run the job to select that folder on the fly, and that lets you output to any folder you want, just by selecting it at the time that you run the job. If you leave both the input and output folder blank, it will prompt you to select a folder when you run the batch, and that will be used for both your input and output folder. And this is how you configure jobs for use with the right-click integration with Windows Explorer. Because when you right-click on the folder and run the job, it assumes that that folder will be the input and output folder for that job. Folder and file naming schemes were covered in SimpleSoftware 102, but we'll review them again briefly here. To create your folder and file name structure, so now we see the full output path given our output folder and the selected folder and file name checkboxes. The folder and file name checkboxes determine the output naming hierarchy in the file naming scheme. Any option or any index field that has the folder name checked will automatically create nested subfolders for each index value that you have selected. The file name checkboxes are appended in order. The field values that you have the file name option selected form the actual file name of the file. When you have the multi-page files option selected, any two files that have the exact same output or the exact same index fields resulting in the same output file name will be appended together into a multi-page file. And so this lets you create multi-page files either in a single batch or across multiple batches. So days later or months later, you can scan a file, and if it has the same index values, it'll be appended to that file if it exists. And the final multi-page file consideration is the forward option. When you have the forward option checked, the index field values will be carried forward from one page to the next instead of blanking out the field values. So, and that includes with OCR and barcode recognition as well as when you're manually indexing. In the manual indexing scenario, you type the account number, you hit save, and then when the next page appears, the account number that you just typed remains in the field. If I uncheck the forward option, the field will be blank when I advance to the next page. And what that lets you do is index the first page of a multi-page file and then very quickly hit enter until you get to the first page of the next file, and then all of the pages that you just all the pages of the same file have the same index field values automatically. So the forward option is very handy when dealing with multi-page files, and really absolutely essential in creating multi-page files when you're indexing with SimpleIndex. Under the output options, we've covered in a previous class, we've covered the use of the append to existing files option and the image file type. But let's go into a little more detail here. Most of the other options in here deal with numbering single page files. So, for example, you have a file page number length, which defaults to 4. That determines the number of zeros to put in the page number. So, if you're going to have batches with more than 10,000 page files, or any file could be scanned in multiple batches, but if the sum total of the pages is more than 10,000, then you'll want to increase this to 5 or 6. And you'll see when you increase it to 5 and you turn off multi-page files, over here on the index tab, you see there's now 4 zeros and a 1, showing that you have a 5-digit page number. Number first file is an option that you typically use when you are scanning pages that you know are single page files. You'll never have multiple pages with the same index values, so you don't want to have the -001 appended after the file name, so you uncheck number first file to get rid of that. Max pages per file lets you automatically split up very large files or automatically increment an auto number every X number of pages. So typically if you have files that are multi-page files that are more than 500 pages, you are creating an absolutely huge file that takes up too much memory when you load it and causes all kinds of problems. Very slow to load those files. So typically I would have a maximum of 500 pages in a single file, and by setting this to 500 and unchecking number first file, it will append pages up to 500, and then once 500 pages is reached, it'll add -002, -003 for each subsequent block of 500. But the initial run will, or the initial 500 pages will not have -001 after it in case the file is under 500 pages. In the case of an auto number where you want to increment an auto number every 5 pages, for example, let's say we have an auto number field here, and we can increment every max pages. And so what that will do is automatically increment this auto number every 5 pages. A good example of how to use that is a multi-page batch that is all files that have the same number of pages. So you have 5-page files, one after the other, but you don't want to use separator sheets or anything like that. You can use this method to automatically separate the files into multi-page documents using an auto number. Field separator is used to put spaces and separator characters between subsequent field values when you are concatenating multiple fields together to create a file name. So you can put anything you want in here. You can put ABC, and you'll see over here on the index tab that you now have order number ABC company ABC 12002. So you can put anything you want, and those will be used as separator characters, or you can leave it blank and there will be no separation between the field values. The default is space dash space. Now for invalid characters, this character or character string is substituted whenever a invalid character that cannot be used in a file name is encountered in your indexing when you're exporting a batch. So if for example an index field has a star in it or a question mark in it, any character that the Windows file system does not allow, it'll be substituted for with the characters that are in this field. Now, a little bit more about the output file type. You have TIFF, PDF, and JPEG. JPEG, as was mentioned before, is only single-page files, so these options are grayed out when you select JPEG. PDF and TIFF files allow multi-page files, as well as color or black and white. Input files, any image type, which includes TIFF, PDF, JPEG, GIF files, PNG files, any images that are recognized as images by SimpleIndex can actually be exported to the selected file type here. However, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, movie files, things like that will all stay in their native format if you index them with SimpleIndex. So this is only used to determine the output file type for images and no other types of files. And so those are all the advanced output options. Thank you very much.